When going off in a Halo match, there's nothing better than hearing multiplayer announcer Jeff Steitzer say,
"Mommy milkers."
No, not that. I was thinking more like,
Killionaire.
there we go. Hey everyone, I'm a frog. One of my Discord members, a speedrunner named PHL himself, asked if I thought you could get a Killionaire in every CE campaign level. If you don't know, a Killionaire is when you kill 10 enemies all within 4 seconds of each other. So not only do you have to be good enough at the game to kill enemies really fast, you have to find places where there's even enough enemies to do it. So my first thought was probably not. Then I got to thinking and thought I'd give it a shot. There were a couple levels where I knew before I even got to them exactly where I could do it at, and a couple others where I had to get really creative. Also worth noting, I did this on Legendary partly because I'm a sweaty gamer, but also because in some sections there are more enemies on Legendary versus lower difficulties, and that actually came into play on the very first level, Pillar of Autumn. If you've ever watched a Legendary CE speedrun, you know that we jump through this barrier rather than going the intended path around. We do that because going the intended path will spawn more enemies, and on Legendary, more elites spawn in this section than they do on lower difficulties. Knowing this, I decided to grab an overshield from the life pod and go the way you're supposed to. That's one Killionaire down. That one was pretty easy, so surely they'll all be easy, right? Nope. Halo, the level, has 3 sections at the end where you're supposed to rescue Marines. You may not have known this, but even if all the Marines are dead in the section by the rocks, you can wait and the dropships will start coming in and dropping off enemies as if they were all alive. My initial strategy was to wait, let the dropships drop everyone off, then run over a bunch of them in the Warthog. The problem was that stringing together 10 splatters within 4 seconds of each other is really tough, and since it's Legendary, I was getting killed pretty quick. My next strategy was to just run out and shoot them. That didn't work either. The strategy that ended up working was I took out all the elites and jackals, or at least most of them. From there, I left the rocks and went to a different section to get ammo, then I returned and got the Killionaire like this. The Pillar of Autumn was only a couple minutes. That took over half an hour, but we did get it, so on to the next one. Truth and Reconciliation was another really tough one. You can kill a lot of enemies at a time on the grab lift, but the main issue is the delay between new waves. If I just smoked every enemy as soon as they dropped off, there'd be too big of a gap until the next wave and I'd lose the multi-kill and start over. It took a lot of attempts, but I eventually got it. On all 3 levels so far, I knew where I could get a Killionaire going in. On the next one, I had no idea. On the speedrun for the Silent Cartographer, we do a Warthog Slam and some other shenanigans to get all the way to the bottom without killing any enemies. After you activate the Cartographer, more enemies spawn upstairs. So my first idea was to do all the speedrun stuff and then find a spot in the facility because there would be enemies everywhere. After I actually loaded up the level and started walking towards the Warthog, I remember there's a bunch of jackals by it. So I got the Killionaire here instead.
It looks like there is a path into the interior of the island.
So I had an idea, but not an exact spot, and then a great one fell in my lap, and this was an easy one. On to the next level. Assault in the control room was a good one. I had an idea for a spot later on in the level, so early on I just got to play through and enjoy the level masterfully crafted by Paul. Once I got to the tank, I wasn't planning on it, but I tried out this spot for a bit and I got really close. The issue was the tank firing too slow. If you could fire a second shot a half second sooner after the first, this would have been a slam dunk. But I eventually decided it just wasn't fast enough and I moved on. Next, I tried to get it in a room that has a ton of sleeping grunts. I don't know how many there are exactly, but it's at least 20. The problem here was that they're just too spaced out. Eventually, I made my way up to the bridge and this was really easy. Easy spot, but I had to work my way into the level a bit. Now on 343 Guilty Spark, I had a spot that was easy and right at the start. I knew about this spot ahead of time because I get a Killionaire here all the time when I'm speedrunning and setting up for a trick called Reveal Room Skip. It's right after you get off the elevator when entering the facility in the swamp. Easy enough, now onto the best level in the game. Oh boy, the library. Well, maybe I shouldn't be complaining. The good thing about the Flood is that they don't have shields and they're stupid, so they're really easy to take out with grenades. There's probably a few spots in this level you can get a Killionaire. Library is pretty famous or infamous for being the level that's nothing but Flood chasing you through hallways. On the third floor, following a holdout section for 90 seconds that you can instead just sit in the corner during, there's a Flood spawn afterward where you can time it right and get a really easy Killionaire like this. I hope you like grenades because you're going to see a few more of them. In Tuba Trails, I wasn't for sure where to go, but this is another one where you could probably get it in multiple spots. The place I wanted to do it was a bit into the level, so I went ahead and got into a Banshee out of bounds, hit some triggers and did some loads, and got out by the second generator where I did this. Would have been even faster had I gotten rockets, but still, easy enough. On Keys, there are multiple spots with infinite flood spawners, so again, there's probably a few places you can get a Killionaire here. I opted to do a trick called flood bumping at the very start of the mission that sends you to about where Keys is and gives you a bunch of easy kills. Nine levels down, one more to go. On Ma, there's a spot right after the start, so we run around, toss a grenade, and grab the shotgun off those floods, switch to anniversary graphics because of muscle memory from speedrunning, and in this hallway there's a ton of flood. This actually took me a few tries because I kept getting killed, but eventually I got it like this. And that's every level. So is it possible to get a Killionaire in every CE level? Yeah, it is. The hardest two levels were definitely Halo and Truth and Reconciliation. The easiest were all of the Flood levels. This challenge, in all honesty, wasn't that tough. But if you do want to see something tough, then click the video on screen to see how I beat Halo CE on Legendary in under 90 minutes in one playthrough. And with that, I'll catch you next time.